Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Go Watch Something Awesome movie pod. I am your host, Joshua Armenteros, and this is a show where we talk about movies. We're going to play games. We're going to figure out what's actually worth watching. Today, I've got Andrew Koltuniuk. I know him as the Wandering Director on TikTok. He's a writer and a director of the movie Letting Go of Jack on Prime Video. Amazon Prime Video. This is cool for me because I always get to talk about movies from an outside perspective. But today we've got somebody to talk to who could actually went out and made one. So welcome, Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Josh.
No problem, brother. Okay. Let's get right into this. Before we get into Letting Go of Jack, I want to know your origin story. When did you first know? I don't just like movies. I want to make them.
It was in high school. I was in Boy Scouts, and I was doing the cinematography merit badge at a summer camp. And they had us in these hot tents, and they set up a old projector, and the projector was green. Everything that we watched was just green tinted. And I sat and watched The Dark Knight for the first time. And after we watched The Dark Knight, I was like, wow, this is a pretty incredible movie. They said, and people get paid to make this, and you can get a job in the film industry. And something clicked in my brain, and I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. Like, that's what I feel is my calling, is to go make movies. And so I went home and told my parents, I was like, hey, I think I want to go make movies. I want to go study filmmaking. And to my parents' credit, they did not panic. They were like, okay, sounds good. Why don't you try doing something at community college and just take a couple of film classes, see if that's something that, is it just a passing fancy, or is it something you're actually passionate about doing? And so I went to community college for 3 years. I took every media class that they had. I did some acting classes. And because I initially started out, I was like, I want to be an actor. Because I had done theater in high school and in middle school. And I was like, I want to do acting. And I was like, I need to go finish my degree somewhere. And so I went to California because that seemed like the most likely place. While I was in community college, I also figured out, like, being in front of the camera wasn't really for me. Like, I didn't want to be necessarily starring in movies. I much preferred being behind the camera, and went to California, finished film school, and I've been out here ever since for the past almost 6 years, just getting on as many sets as I can, trying to work on as many projects as possible.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. So besides Letting Go of Jack, I'm assuming you've made short films and you've, worked on a lot of different stuff. There's a lot of trial and error in this lifestyle that you're living. I was wondering, what was the first thing that you made that you were really proud of?
It's going to sound really stupid, but the very first thing I ever made was, and I could confirm with you if it's on my YouTube channel or not, was a music video for Cruise by Florida Georgia Line. And this was way back when I was in community college, back in 2015, I think. And I had a rinky-dinky little, like, Canon or something that I was shooting on. But I remember, like, getting a couple shots of, like, the sun, and I had my sister and one of my friends on, like, horses riding. I was like, wow, this actually looks like a real cinematic shot.
Yeah.
And, like, cutting that together to the song, I was like, wow, I'm really, really proud of this. And I don't think it necessarily holds up that well nowadays, but as my first thing, I was like, okay, like, I'm sold on making films and making film content.
And that was the first thing you made?
That was the first thing I made.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You didn't have to go through a lot of bad stuff before you found something that you were really proud of.
I went through all the bad stuff right after that. Don't worry, Josh. It came right after.
So obviously, again, trial and error. You had to have made something that just made you go, what the hell? What was I thinking?
I got super ambitious when I was in community college.
That's
And
a great way to start.
I was like, I'm gonna make the next Sundance feature. And I don't know if I've ever like publicly talked about this before, so congrats, it's gonna be on your channel first.
Let's go.
I wrote it was initially like written as I think 6 episodes of a show. And it was an adventure like treasure hunting movie kind of based off of like Indiana Jones and National Treasure, starring myself, of course. And I jumped off the deep end in Colorado, and I had like maybe 4 or 5 people who were helping me out. And I was like, over this summer, like, we're going to shoot the next masterpiece, and then I'm going to make millions of dollars off of it. And dude, I jumped in. I didn't have a shot list. I didn't have a schedule. I didn't have permits for most of the places I was going to. And I was like, you know what? It's fine. We'll be fine. I cast a bunch of actors off of Backstage. I held auditions. And then I just started shooting. And we shot probably about 40 minutes of a movie. And then 2 of my actors backed out on me. And we're like, I don't have time for this anymore. And the project just died. And so I think I still have all that footage sitting on a hard drive somewhere. It's awful. Like, it would probably look more like a found footage type of movie than anything else. Like, I didn't understand lighting. I didn't understand shot composition. Barely understood sound. And it was really just me and a couple people who were just kind of throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what stuck.
Yeah.
And I learned a crazy amount from doing that.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely terrible. Like, I'm so glad it will never see the light of day, and it can't see the light of day. It would have... okay, this is a long pull, but have you ever seen the movie Jurassic Shark on Amazon?
No.
It is
I
one
can't
of
say
the...
that I have.
It is one of the worst things I've ever watched. And I would say if I had finished making this movie, it would have been comparable to that.
That's beautiful, man.
I cannot recommend that you go watch Jurassic Shark.
Yeah.
But just like, if you're someone who wants to try doing film stuff at all, go just, watch through and just skim through a couple pieces, because you'll understand that you can make something really bad and it will still get on Amazon Prime. You can get on Amazon Prime having made the worst thing in the world.
That doesn't say a lot. We're about to talk about a movie that you have on Amazon Prime.
I know.
So listen, I get where you're coming from. Like I mentioned to you before, I'm a stand-up comedian. And when I go back, and I still have this video on YouTube, but I think I have it hidden so I'm the only one that can watch it. My original set, I killed. I didn't expect to have to do this show. Long story short, mailman walks in with a flyer for a comedy show. It's a fundraiser, and it was a comedy show. And my boss told the mailman, "Hey, you should have Josh on the show." And I told him that I didn't do comedy. I've never done comedy before. I just make people laugh. I tell stories and stuff. And he said, "Oh, I got a spot for you if you want it." I told him, "No, I don't want it." So I had the next 2 days off. I come back to work on Monday, and when I show up, he comes in with a new flyer with my face on it. And I was like, "Hey, I told you, I'm not doing this. What's going on?" And he said, "Well, you might want to talk to your boss, because while you were gone, she told me that you said that you wanted to do the show." And I was like, "What the hell?" So I go into the back room, and I walked up to her, and she just put her hand up, and she stopped me, and she goes, "Josh, you're doing the show. I already told your mom. Your mom already told your entire family. So everyone's going to be there. Just buckle up and fucking do it." And so I had to write 10 minutes. I'm giving you the long story long, but I had to write 10 minutes. And then like a week before the show, he comes in and he's like, "Hey, do you think you can cut it down to like 7 minutes?" And I was like, "What the fuck, dude? I don't know how to do that." So then I cut it down to 7 minutes. And when I got there, he was like, "Hey, do you think you can just do like 4 minutes?" And I'm like, "I'm not a professional comedian. What I wrote is what I have, dude." So I went up there and I talked as fast as I could. I was like, "Hey, my name is Josh Harmon." My arms, I didn't know what I was doing. I kept doing this like weird shaky thing with my arms. And every time I look back at it, I'm like, dude, the crowd loves me. I look so dumb. It was just so cringy to watch. And so I completely get, long story long again, I completely get where you're coming from, and that's why I wanted to ask, because there's so much to get to where you are. You got to fail a bunch of times, so I just wanted everybody to hear that. But you are a writer and director now. I have a few questions about your movie.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned before, he wrote and directed the movie Letting Go of Jack, available on Amazon. Beautiful story, by the way.
Thank you.
What was it like seeing your movie on Prime Video when it first got published?
It was a complete shock, first off, because when you are a super small film and you don't have like crazy distribution, you don't know when it's going to go up. So they were like, well, it'll go up sometime in the summer. And I happened to be Googling something, and I contacted my producer and I was like, oh my gosh, like it's live. We need to contact everybody. We need to like send everybody there now. So we had for me, it was less of like a surreal moment of like, oh my gosh, like the movie that I made is now on one of the biggest streaming services in the world, and more of like, nobody told us we had absolutely no warning. And like the first couple days when a movie goes up are the most crucial. And I was
Yeah.
like, I need to message every single person I know on TikTok and be
Yeah.
like, please make a movie review. Please watch the movie. I will send you a private screener link, whatever it is, to just like get the word out there as soon as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, that's gotta be really weird. Yeah, like you said, when a movie goes up, you gotta have time to market these things. I mean, other movies go on press tours.
Mm-hmm.
Like you didn't have a chance to do anything. They just shot it right up there.
Yep. So I basically did a compressed press tour in like the 24 hours after the film went up, which
That's
was a
crazy.
Saturday, right about the busiest time of the year in my job too. And so I was like, I will not sleep much, but I'm gonna get it up to as many people as I possibly can.
I respect it. I gotta ask, where did the story of Letting Go of Jack come from? What is it? An image? Did a character hit you? Was it a personal feeling? Is it just like you had a dream, the story hit you all at once? Where'd it come from?
It came from this book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a book that's been around for, I believe, over 20 years. And it is a self-retreat that a writer can do, or really any creative can do, to unblock anything that, whether it's like a mental thing, something from your past trauma, to like unblock any creativity that you have. And a big part of it is called morning pages. This is going to be a bit of a long story, but I promise I'll get through it as quick as possible.
You're fine.
And your morning pages is every morning you pull out a notebook and a pen and you just write down 3 full pages of like a stream of consciousness, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And if all you're writing is I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write, you just write that for 3 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that for 10 weeks, and then there's some other exercises that you do as well. And it helps you. It helped me a lot. I
Yeah.
really am glad that I did it. I happened to do it over COVID because, there was nothing else to do at the time. So I was doing these morning pages stuck at the house, and a few weeks in, these characters started dancing across the page. This guy named Brandon and this girl named Amber. and they were stuck on a road trip together. So over the course of doing the morning pages and then the next couple months afterwards, I really just started trying to figure out, what was this story that they were trying to tell me, and where were they trying to go with it. And eventually the movie just kind of like slowly came together. I remember there was a really big moment where I realized that the car was going to be a character and was going to be named Jack, and like that was a really big breakthrough moment.
We'll
for
get
me.
to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah. And so like that's where it came from, was basically like doing a retreat to kind of unblock my creativity. This kind of breakthrough movie for me came out of that.
Now I have to ask, why a road trip movie? Because road trip movies, pretty simple on paper, right? But you're forcing people to deal with their shit. Mm-hmm. And your movie is 88 minutes, and I want to say 95% of that is the road trip. So why was that the idea?
It was just that I realized these two characters are on a road trip. And I was like, okay, like, why are they on the road trip?
Right.
And that took a little bit of time of like understanding Brandon is on the road trip because he's dealing with something.
Yeah.
Amber is on the road trip because she's trying to escape her current life, and Brandon is her ride out of there. So it came more because of the characters, not because I was trying to force them into a road trip. I wasn't like, oh, this would be the best story for them to explore this.
Right.
It was like the characters kind of were like, hey, we're on a road trip, figure out why.
But I mean, at some point you did have to get there, because Jack is probably the second, maybe third biggest part of the movie.
Yeah.
So like at some point you did know they're trapped inside of the storyline, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. For me, it was like, once I realized that, okay, they're in this car together, I was like, they're going to have to confront some pretty big things about each other.
That's all you can do on a road trip, right?
Yeah. You learn about each other because there's nothing else to do.
Exactly. There was a moment where Jack broke down at the end of the movie, and he finally gives up, is kind of the sentiment. Like, he can't do it anymore. And at that moment, it was a really cool setup, because it kind of physically stopped Brandon from being able to continue running, and his adventure kind of stopped. And he had that moment with Amber where he was like, he's pissed off, she's pissed off, they're going back and forth with each other, and then he had to finally accept, like, I gotta feel this, I gotta talk about this, I gotta get this out. And once he did, he was like, I'm going back home. I have a couple questions that are not about the story, so I don't think we'll be spoiling anything. This is more about your position in what it is that you do. So there's a moment right before Brandon leaves, and he's about to start his trip, and there's maybe in the 15 feet between like the beginning of his driveway and the front of his car, where there's like 8-9 cuts, different angles. So my question is, when you're doing something like that, again, obviously besides the one inside of the trunk, is that one shot and then you're cutting that post? Or is that like set up, record, do it again, set up somewhere else, do it again, and then you have to do that 8-9 different times?
Yeah, so that was basically one take, and it was, I kind of walked the actor playing Brandon through that, and I was like, well, you're going to start here, we're going to do this, and then, you're going to take it to the car, and then you're going to go get in the car. And it was like, okay, we're going to probably do this as a one take, 2, maybe 3 times if we don't get it, because I knew it wasn't going to be playing as like a oneer. and it was going to end up being relatively chaotic. And then I told my camera operator to basically, like, give me a bunch of different angles, because, and basically, play each oneer from a different angle. So
Right.
we really did the full action twice, but he was trying to capture it a different way. Now, there are a couple of shots, for example, the shot from the doorway, that I was like, I specifically want this shot. And
Okay.
so I had probably 4 or 5 specific shots, and then I was like, the rest we will cut together in post once we figure out how that pacing is going to work.
Another thing. One thing I noticed throughout the movie is that you have to trust the audience to put things together, because you can't just have all of the characters explaining everything all the time. A feeling in a situation. A good example, at the gas station. I think the second gas station, when he runs out of money, you pull up. You can see from a distance that the gas is $7.49, which is outrageous, by the way. But you see it from a distance. He gets out of the car. It's over his shoulder. Camera pans up, zooms in slow. You see $7.49. Comes back to him. He's reaching in his pocket. He pulls out the cash. A couple bucks. So you and your brain have to put together, gas is $7. He only has a couple dollars. He can't afford this. So you are having to pick up on those things. And as a director, and I'm sure not just in this project, but you've done it in other projects, and other directors do it all the time, you have to, I guess, put things on the screen knowing that the audience has to pick up on it. So, like, before you shoot, that the day of, how much time do you spend thinking, like, I'm not just lines and where we're shooting and stuff, but like, how much emphasis do you have to put on thinking about the day that the audience is watching this movie?
A lot. And something that my day job is editing. So I end up doing a lot of editing videos. I, edit my own content online. I've been an editor on several different short films as well. And so when I'm going through and plotting out my shot list, a shot list is basically, I'm creating a list of every single shot that I want to capture. And it's like, you need to think about, I want to make sure I'm capturing this angle on this person. We need to see the money, because like people have to make that connection. So I need an insert on the money. I need an over the shoulder shot so that we can see, the audience can clock how expensive the gas is, so that then I can cut to the money in his hand and they can make the connection. So I'm spending a lot of time on that. And when I bring in my director of photography, I'm giving them the shot list and saying, hey, go through the script and make sure, is there something I missed? Like, are there other shots that we should be getting here? And then they're going to review that. And then on the day, we may be switching that up entirely and saying, okay, cool. Like the location just does not work for what we grabbed. So what do we need to capture today so that it can cohesively cut together for the audience? And so that's when I'm like thinking in my brain, like, how am I going to edit this together? What do I need to show the audience? Like, do we need to be a little wider so we can see what the actors' hands are doing so that they can then put that together? Do we want to avoid seeing something and, be like, okay, we can't show this yet because we need to hide that from the audience for a certain amount of time? So there's so many things that go into it.
You're also directing actors. So as the writer and the director, how close were the lines in the movie that were written on the script, actually acted out on in the movie?
Yeah, so there are certain directors, for example, Tarantino, and writers like Aaron Sorkin, who are like,
doing it
the
my
dialogue is done this way.
Yeah.
And regardless of, how many takes it takes, you're going to do it this way. For one, I don't really have that luxury of shooting, 60 to 90 days for a film to get this done. So I don't really have that luxury. But also, I'm a firm believer that a movie is made by a team of people. And particularly when it comes to the actors, I sat down with every single one of them because I tried to meet with them multiple times before we shot to just answer any questions they had, dive deep in the characters. Something I try and tell every single actor I work with is that I spent a lot of time working on this script, right? I have the whole thing in my mind and I know these characters, but I really only know them about this much. I've got a minimal like skin depth knowledge of every character. And some characters I've gone more in depth with, like Brandon and Amber. I went pretty deep into their backstories. But I tell every actor, you're going to go through this script, you're going to develop a ton of backstory for this character. Any good actor who's worth their salt is going to do a lot of prep work. And I tell them, you're going to know this character better than I will by the time we get to filming. And so if a line does not feel right, tell me. Like, I'm open to switching it. And there were times where we would be going and it'd be like, hey, this doesn't quite feel right. Can we try switching it to this? And I think there were maybe like 4 or 5 lines that I was like, I need this a specific way. Like, I want it to be this. Mm-hmm. Because, like, this is the meaning I'm trying to convey behind it. And they would be like, oh, okay, I understand. But for the most part, when I'm switching from writer mode to director mode, my goal is no longer, the script is this Bible that I have to follow. No.
Yeah.
The script is like our guidelines, but realistically now real people are saying these lines and they're acting as real people. And so if it needs to change, it needs to change. There was one moment in particular, I actually had an F-bomb written in the script. We played through the scene, we were setting it up, and we did it one time, and Larson, who is the actor who plays Brandon, he said the line, and he said the F-bomb, and after I called cut, I went up to him and I was like, do you think Brandon would say an F-bomb here? And he was like, no, that doesn't feel right. And I was like, okay, let's just cut it. And I was like, it was something I had been kind of struggling with the whole time because I was like, do I want, you're gonna diminish your audience if you go with an R-rated movie. I was like, Is it worth it?
Yeah,
is it worth doing?
For a moment that maybe didn't feel 100%.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, let me ask him. And he was like, no, I don't think it doesn't make sense for the character. And I was like, great, let's cut it and move on. And then we continued the scene just without that in the dialogue.
Yes, maybe it's not scripted Quentin Tarantino style, but you have a mental picture of what you think the day should go like, what you think the scenes would go like in your brain. Is there a scene or a moment that you remember where an actor did something that surprised you, where you were like, that's awesome, we're keeping that?
Yeah, okay, so this didn't actually make the final cut because we ended up having to cut it. But Paul, who played the gas station attendant Hank, so funny. He's hilarious. And he and I were working together, and, I was like, this guy Hank, he doesn't get any visitors in here. So when he meets this guy, Brandon, he's like, you need to be talking to him like, I've had 1,000 words a day saved up and I haven't seen someone in 3 days. So I've got 3,000 words.
You could tell he perked up when the door opened, like he just was looking down and he went.
And he like comes to life and he's like, oh, I've got someone I can talk to finally.
Yeah.
And there's this moment where the line is, the ATM machine's broken. They haven't come to fix it yet. And Paul was like, I was thinking about like being like, I need to tell them about that, and then pull out a pen and just write then and there, write on a sticky pad the note. And I like didn't have that in the script at all. But it was absolutely hilarious. Like, everyone in the crew is dying because, Brandon's just standing there like, this guy needs to help me with the gas, and he's like,
right,
they haven't come yet. That reminds me, I need to write that down. And he like just turns and like spends 30 seconds writing it on the notepad. And it was hilarious. And I was like, that makes so much sense for his character. But unfortunately, when we were showing the film to people in test screenings, because that scene takes place so close to the beginning, everyone was like, I was expecting more of a comedy because of how funny this scene is.
Wow.
And we were like, okay, that's a really good note. And so we basically, I think, cut down the scene with Brandon and Hank by a good 2 to 3 minutes. We just had to cut out a lot of really funny dialogue that Hank had because it was making the film feel like a comedy, and that's not what we needed.
That's so crazy that you wouldn't even think something like that. Like,
And I didn't. It wasn't
Yeah.
until like we showed an audience and they were like, I thought it was going to be a comedy after this. And it was like, okay, that's a really good note. We'll
Yeah.
implement that right away.
Yeah, you don't want that feeling. Yeah, I get that. I wish I would have seen that because I loved him. I have a quick little segment. It's
Okay.
director rapid fire questions.
Okay.
As soon as I say these things, I want you to say it, and then if you have a quick explanation after, just get it out as quickly as you can. I don't want you to think too much on it.
Okay.
Okay, pick one. Would you rather have the perfect script or the perfect cast?
The perfect cast. A good cast can elevate a mediocre script, but a perfect script can be brought down by a mediocre actor.
You had that one in the back pocket. That was good. Okay. Which helps the movie more? You can reshoot one scene, or you can get an extra week of editing.
You can reshoot a scene. We had actually the beginning scene and the end scene of the movie did not exist for the first 6 months after we shot, and we had a long, a very long, oh my gosh, kind of conversation with one of our test audiences where they ripped the film to shreds in front of us. And one thing that we understood was they don't know enough about the main character,
You didn't have a setup.
and they really wanted a resolution with the ring. And so I was like, okay, well, I talked to my producer. I was like, is there any money in the budget that we could like fly Larson back out from the East Coast and shoot 2 new scenes? And we shot a new opening and a new ending to the film, and that like I think brought the film up a solid point that it wouldn't have had if that
Yeah,
hadn't
for sure.
existed. Because
Yeah.
if you read the script, the script begins with the door opening and Brandon basically leaving, and the film ends with him with the phone call on with his mom.
Which matters more? A bigger budget or more shooting days?
Those things are like directly correlated.
Well, yeah, I'm assuming if you have more days, you have to have a bigger budget.
Yeah,
Correct?
but like if you have to choose one, more shooting days, having restrictions and like having limited resources really forces you to make creative decisions and figure out how to do something with a low budget.
I believe you mentioned something to that effect in a video that you made about short films. When you were just saying that now, it just reminded me of that you were saying, like, sometimes if you're given 2 hours, 2 hours and 30 minutes, you can go wild with it and do a bunch of, but learning to do something more compact and deliver the message and the feeling is much more difficult and sometimes maybe more satisfying.
One of the filmmakers that I know, he's working on his senior thesis project for school, and he shot a period piece, a period like boxing film, really really cool, set in the Great Depression. And he finished the short film, and he was like, "Do you want to take a look at it?" I finished it. It's currently 23 minutes, and I was like, "Okay." I was like, "You should consider cutting 2 minutes out." And he was like, "I don't believe in cutting just an arbitrary amount of time out." I was like, "Okay, dude, like it's your film. He's an extremely talented filmmaker, so I really trust him." And then he came back a few weeks later because he's getting notes from other people as well, and he's like, "Okay, we did a slash cut and we got it down to 17 minutes, and it's so much better."
Was that
And
5 minutes? No,
They cut out 5
6
minutes. Yeah, about 6 minutes of it. And I was like, "Good stuff, dude. Like, that's fantastic." Because he showed me a version at, I think, 21 or 22 minutes. And there was one sequence specifically at the beginning. And I was like, you should just cut this whole thing out. And he was like, "But it's so cool. It's like this." And I was like, "The point is this. And
Yeah.
you're blocking it with this. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense here. Get rid of it." And he was like, okay, I'll think about it. And then he came back and he was like, okay, I made that decision. I think it works better. And I was like, okay, good. I'm proud of you for like figuring that out.
Would you rather critics love your movie and you win awards for it, but the audience hates it, or the audience loves it, but critics destroy it?
The audience, because for critics, it's their job to watch something. And if they like it, that's great.
Man, there's a lot of movies, mainly comedies are the ones that I can think of the most, but that are just hated and maybe didn't do well, but cult followings.
Yeah.
Like the audience will just carry it for the next 50 years and have it in like top 5 lists everywhere.
Yeah. For me, I think like the critics are going to watch it one time and probably stop thinking about it the next day because they've got,
Right.
you know, however many movies to watch in a weekend.
Yeah.
But if one audience member like finds it and loves it and treasures it, like they may watch that every year for the rest of their lives because it's something that just stuck with them.
Yeah. That's awesome. Hot takes. You got any hot takes?
Well, I mean, one of my recent hot takes was that it didn't seem like a hot take, but I guess like everyone in my comment section thought it was a hot take. I thought The Mandalorian and Grogu was one of the most mediocre pieces of film that has come out in the last like 20 years. And I was like, it feels like it was episodes of a TV show strung together. And I had someone come at me in my comments and they were like, no, dude, like you have no idea what a story is. And I was like, I mean, I've written multiple scripts. I had a job where I was reading scripts. I think I understand like how this structure works. And he's like, you don't understand the 3-act structure. I was
You
like,
have to
okay, dude,
understand
like
the franchise you're talking about, though.
and he was like, it's a fantastic movie, or someone else was, and I was like, cool. Like saying a fantastic Star Wars movie is actually just like a mediocre regular movie. Hot take. I was like, if you get a fantastic Star Wars film, it can be a fantastic film. More than likely, it's a better than average film. So
Ugh.
a lot of my Star Wars takes are very hot.
Okay.
I feel like, and so
No, I love
particularly
it.
Mandalorian and Grogu. Apparently, the fact that I think it's a pretty mediocre piece of film is a very hot take.
Yeah, I'm sure the idea was a TV show. And they probably thought to themselves, we string this together, we make it into a movie, we can make a bunch of money off of this. They did the same thing with Moana 2.
Yup.
And it was, and probably would have been an incredible show. Because the characters that they added, the old man was freaking hilarious, and I feel like they would have given a little bit of a backstory to each one of them and made them feel like they mattered.
Yeah.
And instead, they put it in a movie, and you watched it, and you literally left the movie just going, this was a TV show they turned into a movie.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch The Mandalorian and Grogu, but from scrolling on TikTok, that's the sentiment that I got. Was that a lot of people that were unbiased, not Star Wars fans, were saying the same thing.
Yeah. I personally, and I think someone else came up with this take, and I just really agree with it, so I will not take any credit for this. Starfighter is coming out next year with Ryan Gosling.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to be, the first original Star Wars film that's not connected with the franchise since really Rogue One, which is still connected with the franchise. And so they basically needed something in theaters to prep people to be like, no, Star Wars is a theatrical franchise, guys. And it's like, I mean, what's come out in theaters in the last 6.5 years apart from Mandalorian and Grogu? Nothing. So I don't believe you, but I think Disney's like, if we lead people in with one thing, hopefully more people will go see Starfighter next year.
I don't think that's true. I think you could go 10, 15 years, and I'm not saying that that's what you're saying and I'm disagreeing with you, but I think you can go 10, 15, even 20 years without releasing a movie. People want to see it. If Ryan Gosling's in it, it's a Starfighter movie. I don't think anybody's going to be like, well, they haven't released anything in a long time. If anything, they would probably come from the perspective that we haven't gotten anything. We haven't gotten anything not just good, but we haven't gotten anything. So they're giving us something. I want to see it, you know? And I think forcing a release like the Mandalorian and Grogu, which, like you said, again, I haven't seen it, was most likely a TV show.
I think you make a really good point because, you know, that happened when Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3 came out, when the sequel trilogy came out. But a counterpoint against you, they've been putting out multiple TV shows a year now. So I think they've been conditioning the fan base that you watch Star Wars on Disney Plus. That's where you watch it. And like, fans aren't starved for Star Wars content. There's multiple shows that come out every year. And so they figure, well, I'm just going to watch it when it comes out on Disney Plus because that's where I watch all my Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
So I think I would agree with you if they'd not released anything since the last movie came out in theaters.
Can I counter your counter?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
So streaming is a difficult thing to kind of put into a bubble or a box because they fluctuate the prices. Some people are Netflix people, some people are Disney people, some people are Peacock people. In my house, we love watching everything. I got Peacock, Hulu with Disney. I got Netflix, HBO Max. I pay for all of them.
Heck yeah.
It's worth it to me. Some people just have Disney. And if you have kids and if you just have Disney and you're an adult and you're trying to watch stuff, every time you go on Disney, all you have are Disney shows or Star Wars shows. The Marvel shows, few and far. You know, if you're not paying for the Hulu and ESPN package and you're just getting Disney Plus, you're not getting much. So they're releasing Disney shows.
But you have Bluey. You have Bluey, which, to my knowledge, is the single most watched TV show on streaming. Like any streaming platform.
You know how long each episode is?
Yeah, it's like 10 minutes.
Not even. Not even. So yeah, I'm just thinking, yes, people are getting used to watching the Disney shows, or I keep calling it the Disney shows, the Star Wars shows on Disney because they're being released on Disney. But maybe that's because that's the only streaming service that they have. In my mind, I will always prefer to go to the movie and watch a movie rather than watch the TV show, because I feel like, yes, TV shows you get more story and stuff, but it's fleshed out and sometimes just a bunch of filling and adding and stuff so that you're sitting there for an entire season, you know? And like like you told that guy, it was 23 minutes long. You should be able to cut it down a few minutes. You can tell the story in 2 hours time. And if your goal was to make it into a TV show, make it into the TV show. Don't use it as a filler for a movie that you have coming out from a year from now.
I agree with you. Yeah. I hope Starfighter does really well because
I love Ryan Gosling.
I love Ryan Gosling. It's got Sean Levy helming the film, so you know I have very high hopes for that movie. I didn't have super high hopes for Mandalorian and Grogu because I watched season 3 of Mandalorian and Grogu. But Starfighter, like, I'm excited to see something set in the Star Wars universe that isn't connected to the saga.
I'll tell you, I know it's going to be funny. I don't know if Ryan Gosling's always been funny, but the last 5 or 6, 7 years, he has been, like, comedy-wise, killing it with
Yes.
Barbie. And then he had the one movie that I freaking loved. I don't think that it got enough credit. The one where he's the stunt,
The Fall Guy?
stunt man. Oh my god, I love that movie.
Dude.
I freaking loved it.
Yeah,
And he was hilarious in that
for all
thing.
of us who, you know, have done work in the industry, and like it's 10 times better because you understand all the inside jokes.
I'm
Like
sure.
all the stuff on set, they have the first AD who's yelling at everyone. My sister is a first AD, and like it's like that's you. That is straight up just you on set. It is so funny to watch.
That's so cool. That the premise alone. You're making a movie about people that make movies, and you're kind of showing behind the curtain. But then there's an extra layer to it. So you think you're understanding everything, but the people that are actually behind the curtain are getting an extra message that you can't pick up on.
Yeah.
Like Easter eggs in a Marvel movie kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want another hot take?
I'd love one. Yeah,
Or do you
yeah.
wanna
Give
move
me
on?
no, give me what you got.
Okay. This might be a little more niche, but the Obsession art director coming out and complaining that she didn't make enough money on Obsession, and she and all of her crew should have gotten bonuses is a bad take, and she should have used her platform to advance her career, because now she is the art director behind Obsession, and she should not have spent the time bad mouthing Curry Barker and the rest of the production team on social media.
I mean, I respect your take. I agree with your take. I saw a video after the movie came out and they raised a bunch of money. I was not aware of how the finances were distributed. So it's definitely something that people should learn if they're not privy to it. I didn't know that if a movie was made with $20,000 and they made $200 million, that it wasn't, shared a little more evenly, or, a couple people were given bonuses and stuff. But like you just said, it's also a catapult. Use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't shit on it.
Curry-
Who's going to use you now? Who's going to want to work with you now?
Yeah. Curry Barker just signed, to my knowledge, he made somewhere around $20,000 for directing Obsession.
Mm-hmm.
A healthy amount of money, but probably not worth the amount of money not worth the amount of time that he spent investing into all of the writing and directing work that he did for that.
Yeah.
But now he's going to be making a horror film with Blumhouse. He just signed an 8-figure deal. That's minimum $10 million, guys.
Yeah.
That's huge off of the success that Obsession had.
Yeah. Just because the movie made that money, I get your thinking behind it, her thinking behind it, but you just have to understand that that's not the way that the cookie crumbles. You didn't go into the movie thinking, oh, if we make more money, I should make more money. You took the job excited, probably with the pay that you got.
Yeah.
And we're thinking, this is a good opportunity. I'm working with a good team. You went into it with a good mindset, and the numbers, swayed your thinking on it. And like you just used Curry as an example, his career's not over. Hers might be.
It could be. It might not be.
Yeah.
Only time will tell.
I think you take a different approach. You can have your feelings. You can feel a certain type of way, and you can say it to an extent. You can come out and say, yeah, it does suck. It sucks to know how much work we put into it. It does. It is fulfilling to see that the audience loved it and all of that stuff. You wish you came out with a couple more bucks, but hopefully, like you just mentioned, this takes me to another level. This,
Absolutely.
I'm going to the next movie with Curry and the next movie with Curry, and then this person wants me and this person, and you branch out from there.
Yeah, because genuinely, if there's a chance that, for this next movie, Curry would have hired her, and now he may not want to hire her because of her social media post. I probably wouldn't hire a production designer or an art director who badmouthed me on social media.
Okay. I got a challenge for you. It's a little game.
Okay.
I'm sure you've heard of it. We are going to blind rank directors.
Oh, God.
We are going to start with Jordan Peele.
I'm going to be really safe and just put him right at number 5 because I think Get Out is a phenomenal movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I have immense respect for what he did on YouTube with Keegan and the two of them were phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But I've only seen Get Out, so I don't have a huge grasp of his filmmaking.
Wasn't a huge fan of Nope, to be honest, but okay. Second director, James Cameron.
I'm going to put James Cameron at number 6 because he had some really great work when he was younger, and I have immense respect for everything he's done for the industry. A lot of his films just aren't my style.
The third director is M. Night Shyamalan. I think I did that right.
You did get it right, to my knowledge.
Cool.
I'm going to put him down at number 9. I think he's done some really great movies. I really like Unbreakable. But I would, if I'm correctly guessing the directors that you have, there are going to be a lot of directors that I like more than M. Night Shyamalan.
How often do you think a director takes on a job, a role, has the script, has all of this stuff, has the perfect vision, like something like Avatar? Fans, you got to think about the fans. You got to do it right. Maybe you have that mindset. You have the perfect thing, and then too many hands in the cookie jar.
A lot of the time. I think it happens a lot of the time. And a lot of the time, the director's not the only one at fault because the studio gets cold feet and they're not willing to let their vision go through.
Next, we have David Fincher.
David Fincher has done Seven, Fight Club. I think Fight Club might be the only movie of his that I've seen. And it is a movie that I have mad respect for and I don't like. So I'm going to put him at number 8, which is going to be...
You just said you don't like Fight Club.
Correct.
Let's scroll back to the hot takes.
Now, yeah. To be fair, I saw Fight Club all the way through one time. Mm-hmm. And it was probably over 10 years ago. So I'm going to put him at number 8 because I want to give myself some runway to work with. Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie has done Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows.
Snatch.
Some really excellent movies.
The Gentleman.
Yep.
In the Gray, recently released.
That one I did not get around to seeing, but...
you have to. It's a good movie.
Okay, cool. He also did... oh my gosh, what was the one with Henry Cavill and... came out last year.
And
Alan Richardson.
That movie was so funny.
The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
That's
a great movie.
Yeah. Loved it.
So good. I am going to put Guy Ritchie at number 3.
Ooh, thank God. Guy Ritchie's my favorite director. I get a lot of shit for that too.
Dude, no. I like the Sherlock Holmes movies are some of my favorite movies of all time.
People disagree with me. I like witty movies.
Yeah.
Not just words, just to say words, but and they're normally British movies, but when they're going off back and forth and there's 6 people talking at the same time and it's just you really got to keep up and it's really witty and it's they're insulting each other and I love that shit, man. And Guy Ritchie's films are just, I don't know.
His dialogue is so good. I love his dialogue.
I love it. All right, we got Martin Scorsese.
Good old Marty.
Good old Marty.
I'm going to let Marty be my scapegoat because of his recent investment in that AI company. He's going to go to number 10 because I do not like him right now. I also think he is a director that he is too big, and so his recent films have been bloated messes, and unfortunately everyone is too scared to say, no, Marty, you should bring this down an hour. And so his recent movies have been bloated. So I'm going to put him at number 10 strictly because of his AI comments recently.
It's not a bad take. Christopher Nolan.
I'm a huge fan of Christopher Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
I would not say I'm as big of a Nolan film bro as some people are.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm going to put Nolan at number 2 because I have 2 directors that could fill my number 1 spot that I'm hoping you pull up. But I'm going to put Nolan at number 2 because The Dark Knight was the movie that really like launched me into film.
Yep.
I love Inception. It's like top 10 movies for me.
Mm-hmm.
The Dark Knight trilogy is absolutely stunning. Oppenheimer was phenomenal. I really like Nolan. I'm going to put him at number 2.
Imagine a world where Heath Ledger is still with us and he finishes the trilogy.
I think the trilogy would be better and The Dark Knight would not be as highly regarded.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that was his passing, for sure.
I think
he
so.
fucking killed it.
Yeah. Do
you know how I got these scars?
Oh my gosh, he's stunning. One of the most memorable Jokers of all time, and we've had some memorable ones.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Tarantino's next.
I'm gonna put Tarantino at number 4. I really like Tarantino's dialogue and his characters. I think Django Unchained is a spectacular film. I really love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I have to say I haven't seen a lot of his other movies, but I really dislike Hateful Eight. I think it's violence for the sake of violence, and that's really hard for me when I watch movies. That's like one of the few things that'll really turn me off to a movie.
Yeah.
So that like dings him a little bit for me, but I've heard great things about a lot of his other movies. I will be watching a lot of his other movies soon, so I'm going to put him in number 4. Okay. Solid 4.
I like Tarantino not as much as I like Guy Ritchie, but for the same reason that I like Guy Ritchie. It's the dialogue. Next, we have Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, number 1. Like, unless you put... I will be so sad if you put one specific director next that I will put it number 7 by default. But I apologize because I am going to correct you on this, but I did a whole video. It's Denis because he is French.
Oh, it's Denis.
It's Denis Villeneuve. The 2 Dune films, Blade Runner 2049, Arrival.
Sicario.
This guy's got like an insane track record of just spectacular films. He's a number 1 slot for me for sure.
I tried to save him towards the end. I was hoping that you would give away that number 1 spot so that you'd be a little disappointed.
No, I was
yourself.
like, the only person who I would put in the number 1 spot over him, you might put next, but I was like, if it's Denis or this other director, I will put Denis in first.
My last person is Steven Spielberg.
Dang it, that was the one I would put in first. Yeah. I was like, as long as you don't put Spielberg after. Spielberg is just, I think he is the greatest director we have seen in cinema. And I don't know if we'll ever have one as great as he is. I mean, he just did his 35th movie. That's an insane number. And like, he changed the face of filmmaking multiple times. He like created the summer blockbuster with Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, he redefined film and cinema. Schindler's List is one of the greatest films of all time. Saving Private Ryan. Like, he has done so many different genres and done them all so well.
Exactly.
He would have been. If I wasn't confident you would put him on the list. I should have guessed. So I guess he goes into 7, but I put it as a very sad 7. And not to mention Jurassic Park.
Oh yes.
Yeah. The man was cutting Jurassic Park in the evenings after he was shooting Schindler's List. He would go home and send them notes for Jurassic Park as he was shooting Schindler's List. Like, he put those 2 movies out in the same year. That's insane to me. There you go. That is my ranking. My only qualm is that Spielberg is so low. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with how the ranking looks.
Okay. So, this is a segment that I have named Something Awesome. I want you to give 3 movies that you would recommend to someone. It doesn't have to be your favorite movie. It doesn't have to be in the top 10 movies of all time. Something that just, when you think of movies, these are the ones that pop in your head.
I'm going to try and give a bit of variety. If you're a fan of horror thrillers, Backrooms is out in theaters right now, and it's quite good. It is a thought-provoking movie. It made me question a lot of things, and I think it was brilliantly done. The found footage sequences were terrifying.
They were really scary.
I would recommend going to see Backrooms in theaters right now. Second, I would say if you're an animation fan of family movies, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is one of my favorite animated films of all time.
You just won my heart. Puss in Boots. I love me some Puss in Boots.
One of the most stunning films. Like, it does how to do like 3 different types of villains and have them all be in the same movie.
Mm-hmm.
You have like the true evil villain, the neutral villain, and the villain that ends up turning good. And they managed to put all 3 of them in the movie at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, it is funny. The action scenes are fantastic. I can't recommend that movie enough. Okay, and then my third movie, I've been watching the IMDb Top 100 recently. I'm doing a quick pitch if someone wants to go watch on my YouTube channel, on any of my social media channels. I'm going through and watching all 100 movies with my wife. And we recently just watched... It is, but it's been phenomenal. Like, I highly recommend it. We recently watched Back to the Future, which is a movie I've not seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And just blown away by how good the story is in that. The writing is so on point with that movie that, if you haven't seen Back to the Future, even if you saw it last year, it's been too long, go watch Back to the Future again.
3 great movies.
Thank you. Those are my 3 recommendations for, and they're a good like spaced out group of movies.
That's exactly what the segment's about. I have one as well. My something awesome pick is a movie called In Bruges. It's got Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, and it is one of the sharpest dark comedies I've ever seen. It's funny. It's brutal. The writing is ridiculous. And I don't want to say too much, but go watch it. It's amazing.
I will take that recommendation because I haven't actually seen it yet.
Oh, you have to see it, dude. Andrew, my man, thank you so much, dude. I know you as the Wandering Director. I have you saved on my phone as the Wandering Director. But but let the people know where we can find you.
Absolutely. You can also find me on Instagram as the Wandering Director and YouTube as the Wandering Director. And YouTube, I tend to put out a little more long form content. I'm trying to get into that a little more. But realistically, any of my shorts you'll find across those platforms. I post them all.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I loved talking with you. Again, fanboying it up.
It was so great. Looking forward to many more of these in the future.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have you on again. But that's it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, go watch something awesome.